So it has been. One has to prepare and then rise again. So it has been, dear friends. There's a difference of 10 million votes.
Let's speak now to our reporters. We have Omar Kaplan in Ankara, Hassan Abdullah in Izmir, and Melinda Nusafora in Diyarbakir. Let's start in Ankara. Hi, Omar. So the CHP has conceded defeat, but Muharrem İnce also issued, I guess, a warning of sorts to the Turkish public and to President Erdogan. Tell us what he said.
Well, Andrea, as we just heard, the presidential candidate for the main opposition party, the CHP, Muharrem İnce, did officially concede defeat. He did say the results of the high election counts will stand and that President Erdogan is officially the president of this country. But as he did say, he did also point out a couple of warnings. He said Turkey may be entering dangerous territory. And he told President Erdogan, there's a line of guidance perhaps, he said, from now on, could you change your attitude? Could you have a more encompassing attitude that brings together 81 million people and not just the people of the AK Party, the party you are the leader of? Now, apart from this, of course, he did also put forward some critiques. He said the election was quite free, of course. People were free to choose the leader and the political party of their choice. But it wasn't quite fair. He said he didn't run on the same fair platform that President Erdogan ran on. And he also talked about airtime. He said he didn't get nearly as much airtime as President Erdogan. But speaking of press freedom as well, we had some TRT colleagues in that presser, and just before it asked for members and journalists of the Turkish radio and television to leave the premises, and they were escorted out following that as well. And apart from this, of course, he said he did get 15 million votes. He said for the first time in over 40 years, the CHP has passed the 30% threshold, and he said it's this he believes in. He said Turkey has not cut ties with its democratic values, it's cut ties with its parliamentary system, a system of government that's been part of this country for the last 143 years. Now, of course, at the end of his speech, he finished on a more optimistic note, and he actually said and quoted the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan from his victory speech last night. He said there are countries that only have a 30% participation rate in their elections that are trying to give Turkey a lesson in democracy. And in Turkey's elections yesterday, he said we saw over 80% turnout, and he said it's this absolute belief in the people and the democracy of this country that he will continue to fight for the freedoms and the democratic values of the people here.
Okay, Omar Kaplan joining us live there from Ankara. Thanks so much for that. Let's turn to Izmir now, where Hassan Abdullah can join us live, where, of course, Muharrem İnce, one a majority of the Izmir, is the CHP's stronghold. Hi there, Hassan. Let me ask you this. We were hearing this morning that a group of CHP party members had actually asked certain party managers to resign. Can you tell us more about who they are, how many there are, and what exactly are they saying?
Andrew, the details on that are not exactly clear at this point in time, but when we tried to probe this, what we figured was that there have been some differences. First of all, there were differences within the CHP when it came to choosing their presidential candidate. And there were some people who were not entirely pleased with Muharrem İnce being the choice. And there were a number of sort of lobbies within the CHP with varying interests and asking for the nomination of different candidates. So this was one of the points of contention within the CHP itself. And then also it was to do with the strategy as well. Some people deferred over the strategy of the CHP. Some were suggesting of aggressive activities of the media had been ejected from here. This is another issue. Media not allow them to provide coverage and then say that the media was being unfair to them. So there were a number of issues on which there had been differences within the CHP.
Okay, Hassan Abdullah joining us live there from Izmir. Thank you as always for that. Now, the pro-Kurdish HDP has passed the election threshold with 11.9% of the vote, meaning it will send 67 representatives to Parliament. Our correspondent, Melinda Nusafora, has been following reaction on the ground in the southeastern city of Diyarbakir. She joins us now live. Hi, Melinda. Though their presidential candidate, Selahattin Demirtas, came really nowhere near a win, supporters, it seems, are still celebrating the HDP's overall performance.
They certainly have. Locals here on the street have really been quite jubilant. The Kurdish people, this is a very strong Kurdish region. You could say it's political, cultural and economic heart of the Kurdish people here in Turkey's southeast. They have often felt, they tell us, underrepresented in the parliament, that their voice and their issues have been unheard and not taken seriously and really sort of pushed to the side when it comes to Turkey's politics. They say that this time around they really are hoping that their voice is going to be stronger. They've got their members in parliament, 67 people, who they hope will be acting in their best interest. But that number, that proportion of people who voted for the HDP here, particularly in Diyarbakir, actually has dropped since the 2015 election. 2015, they got about 72% of the vote here in Diyarbakir. This time around, only about 65. Locals say they gave them a chance in 2015 to improve security and economy in the region, and they just haven't felt the change. So some people just weren't willing to give them another go, but there certainly still were more people who were really hoping that they can make a positive change.
Okay, Melinda joining us live there from Diyarbakir in southeastern Turkey. Thank you for that. Now, NATO has congratulated President Erdogan on his win. The Secretary General has also welcomed a meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, for more, Jessica King joins us live from Moscow. Hi, Jessica. Presidents Putin and Erdogan, they know each other very well, given both have served, more than a decade in office in their respective countries. So where does the Turkey-Russia relationship go now with Erdogan's new mandate?
Well, I think if the response from the Kremlin today is anything to go by, then Erdogan's election is going to maintain the cooperative relationship that Turkey and Russia have. You mentioned President Vladimir Putin, and he has released a statement today saying, and I quote, that the result fully confirms Erdogan's great political authority, broad support of the course pursued under his leadership towards solving vital social and economic tasks facing Turkey and enhancing the country's foreign policy position. So a very warm response from Russia's president today. And also we saw earlier in the day congratulations from the chairman of the State Duma Committee for Foreign Affairs, saying that this is going to preserve predictably in developing relations between Moscow and Ankara. And he particularly highlighted that the two countries see eye to eye on the issue of fighting terrorism in Syria. And I think Erdogan has increasingly sided with Russia in the Syrian civil war. And of course, they are strategic partners in that, with the Astana process, with Turkey, Russia and Iran being the three guarantor countries of that process and trying to bring a settlement to Syria. So I think despite some differences on that, in particular who should lead Syria, with Moscow long backing the Assad regime, overall the sentiment today is that they want to continue their cooperation together, their bilateral ties, their international efforts, but I think primarily on their Syrian effort. The Kremlin says they want to continue cooperation on that. So that seems to be the main sentiment from the Russian Kremlin today.
Okay, and just on another front, NATO Secretary General says he's welcoming a meeting between President Putin and U.S. President Trump. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we don't have any official from the Kremlin